and welcoming everyone to our next session as we sort of examine the construction of the tabernacle for the first time. And Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kitshanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu La'asok B'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Amen.
Let me find the screen share. Here we go. Need to find the correct place here. And I had made I believe I marked it. We did this. I know that I had marked it where, Forgive me, I thought, nope, that's not, I really thought I had put a little marking there.
Yeah, you just passed it,
I did?
actually. Yeah, I think so. At 13, I think we were at. Come down a little bit more.
No, because
It was I thought I saw something, not there, not in there, but I thought it was in the Rashi.
There's the
I
mark.
think you did it at least
Yeah.
14, but I don't know if you did all the Rashis on them.
Yeah, I think that's, where we're at is that we were.
This is it. That's the date.
Yeah.
And here's that. I knew I'd done something like that because when I was
Okay.
preparing this morning. All right. So let's go back to here about the kaporet, right?
Yep.
Just to review this briefly. No, that's the ark, Asuaron, that we did, and that's fine. Okay.
Oh yeah, we did 11, we did 12, we did 13, we did 14.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay.
But we haven't done all the Rashis.
Right, we have not. All right.
Right.
Okay. So v'yatzakta, lashon hatacha ketargumo. So hatacha has to do with melting metal, right? Smelting. So v'yatzakta means you shall smelt, right? Pa'amotav, we discussed that word, right? That it seems to be related to the word pa'amon. And he says, ketargumo, again, he's leaning on the Aramaic translation, zavite, its sides. A zavit is a side. So, uvezaviyot ha'elyonim, and now he explains. He says, on the upper sides, the top parts of it, samuch la kapara, close to the ark cover. Hayu nitunim, they were placed. Shtayim mikan, 2 on this side, the shtayim mikan, and 2 on the opposite side, le rochbo, on its width, on the wide side. In other words, not the length. So these things, so you see pictures, different pictures, but they're very clear here that it was on the wide side, shel Aharon, of the ark. V'habadim netunim bahem, and the staves were placed in them. The orkor shel Aaron, and the length of the ark, mafsik bein habadim, separates the 2 staves. Amatayim v'chetzi, 2.5 cubits. Remember, that was the length of the ark. Bein bad levad, between one stave and the other stave. Shehiyu shnei bnei adam, that 2 people, hanosim et ha'aron, who carry the ark, mehalchin beinehem, can walk between them. So in other words, 4 people would be carrying the ark, each one carrying part of the stave, right, on either side. V'chein meforash b'menachot, and this is specified, explained in Menachot, in the tractate Menachot, beperech shtei halechem, in the chapter called the 2 shtei halechem, the 2 loaves.
So in my translation, it only talks about 2 people,
Yes.
and then it says when it's walking between them, it's referring to the staves or the poles, as it says here.
Okay, so, but remember, there's 2.5 cubits, and I would think that
Either
2
side.
people could walk between them.
It's possible. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just letting you know what my translation here says on
Okay.
Chabad.
Well, let me see if I can find you a picture. Give me a moment. Let's see here. See if I can do this here. Okay, this is a good picture. Does that come up or not? Do I need to, is it still?
Yeah, no, we see it.
Yep.
You see it or you don't see it?
We see it.
We see it.
Yeah,
Look at-
we see it.
That's so nice. I think this is a beautifully accurate, at least the way Rashi's describing it. Okay?
Yeah.
Just since the other things there, these are what went inside the ark, right? By the way, notice that not the way Rashi explains it. This one says their feet here, but look at where the staves are. And it looks to me as if 2 people could walk in between there. Now maybe, and it would have been very heavy. So this is the 10 commandments they were put in there, along with the Shivrei Haluchot, the broken commandments. This is Moses' rod, right? And this is the manna. It's not gold pieces, it's manna. They say that's put in the ark as well. And you can see the crown. Now, this is not according to the text either, by the way. This is inaccurate here, because according to Rashi, the crown would have gone up above and around like that. So there are minor or major, depending on how you want to look at it, discrepancies between the text and and this illustration here. So.
And then it's just a matter of, is it 1 person on each side or 2 people on each side?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it looks like 2.5 cubits would be 40 inches and plus, so right, 36.
45-ish.
Yeah,
But
right.
if there are 2 people on each side, why do they need to be in between the poles instead of outside, like when you're
Oh, I
carrying?
see what you're saying. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. In fact, that would make sense. It would be easier for them to stand here and here and
But
here.
if 1 person is doing it, they would stand in between and
True.
hold on to 2 different, poles.
I think that.
I don't think
that-
anybody could lift that. I
Yeah.
don't
No,
think
it would
it's
be
a
1
2-person
person
job. I think it's a
outside.
4-person job.
But I think
Well,
Lauren is right. I think Lauren is, although, does he say that people stood in between?
It does, yeah. It says the length of the ark separated the poles 2.5 cubits between 1 pole and the
Yeah.
other, so that 2 people carrying the ark would walk between them.
Yeah, right. Well, you're right. It's ambiguous. It's ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless it means in that case that there really are only 2 people carrying it, in which case 1 person would be between the 2 poles in the front and 1 person would be between the 2 poles in the back.
And that
Right?
would, and the truth is they could stretch their arms that much.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah,
It's-
It would be
But-
very heavy, by the way. It would be
Yeah,
a
it would,
real
right.
job.
But it's 2 people
right.
and probably strong people.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I've used movers, to carry heavy furniture, and you should see how heavy and bulky 2 people can lift.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Fine. Sorry, I'm having to look for my
They make it look like
Lord Nima
there's
text
Kleenex.
again.
A giant, heavy Naugahyde couch or something.
1 moment, please. Okay, let's see here. I have to find the place.
You just
Wow.
needed to put it on a dolly.
Sorry, 1 moment.
They
I
have
may
to
have to,
do it.
it's unfortunate. Okay.
Put it on wheels.
To lift it onto the
No,
wheel.
the whole point was the exercise in carrying it, by the way. That was the point.
And I'm sure they were Levites, right?
Yes.
'Cause, yeah, who else would do the work? Yeah,
Actually, they were probably Kohanim, if you want to.
no, maybe
Good question.
lesser children of whatever.
Descendants of Aaron. I think that, they could be Levites, come to think of it. I'm not sure. It's funny. Now I'm not certain. I would have just assumed Kohanim because it's so holy. and they would have been more meticulous than the Levi'im. But the Levi'im definitely had porterage tasks, so it may have been the family. In fact, I thank you for making me think about this more deeply. I believe it would have been the family of Kahat, the Kohatites would have been
Okay.
responsible for carrying it, and I think you are correct. It would have been Levi'im. Just can't remember everything, you know. It's unfortunate. All right. Let's find the place. Yeah, no, it says two people, Shnei B'nei Adam, Hanosim, who carry the ark. Yeah, it's just two people. Two people. All right, up to the next one. Ushtei tabot al tzilo ha'achad. So it says, Rashi's concerned about the fact that it says, and two rings, which sounds like an additional two rings, right? So in fact, it would have been another four rings. So he's concerned about this letter Vav that is there. But he's going to explain. So, and two rings on its one side, right? Hein ha'arba tabot. These rings that are being mentioned right now are the four rings that were mentioned, Shabbat Chilat HaMikra, that were mentioned at the beginning of this verse. Upiresh lecha, and what it's doing here is it's telling you here, Hechan Hayu, where they actually were located. It's not talking about an additional four rings here. It's talking about the location of the four rings that were mentioned already. V'havav zo, and this letter Vav, Yiterahi, it's additional. Okay, it's not necessary. It's redundant. It's redundant. Upitrono, and we have to explain it kamoshte tabaot, as if like two rings and without the Vav. We have to interpret it as if it just said shtei tabaot. V'yesh lecha leyoshva chen, and this is how one can explain it, make sense of it. Ushtei min and this is it. Ushtei min hatabaot, and two of. So the word "and" would make sense if you say "and two of these hatabaot ha'elu," these rings al tzalo ha'achat, are on one side. So he's concerned about the syntax here. And tzal'o, remember I mentioned the word tsela, right? That very often it's interpreted as rib, but it means tzidor, its side. So v'asid vadei atzei shitim, you shall make poles of acacia wood, or cypress, v'tzipita otam b'zahav, and you should overlay them with gold. And he says badeh, again, a sort of an unusual word, and he explains the more common word, which would be motot, which would be poles. Poles. One moment, please. There we go. Going on to the next page. Right. Laseit et ha'aron bahim, through which bahim, laseit et ha'aron, to carry the ark. And then he says, "Betabot ha'aron yohabadim," in or through those rings of the ark will be the poles.
Where are you now?
Sorry?
I'm not sure where you are now. You did the Rashi for 13, and then what?
Yes, and then we did 13. It didn't go on. That was it. That was the end of
Right,
it.
and then where are you now?
Now I'm in the text. In verse 15.
Oh, what 14?
Yeah, right. I think we said that in the text itself.
Okay.
Sorry, that's okay. That's okay. The Heveita et Habadim.
Similarity, okay.
I can go back to it. And you shall bring the poles through the rings al salot haran, on the sides of the ark. Laseit et haron bahem, to carry. I translated it, to carry the ark through them.
Okay.
Then it says, and now verse 15, Betabot ha'aron, in the rings of the ark, you habadim, will be the staves. Lo yasuru mimenu, they should not be removed from it. And Rashi explains that lo yasuru mimenu, they should not be removed from it, means, according to Yoma, Tractate Yoma, le'olam, they never should be removed. They should be in it permanently. And Okay.
I've
Verse.
got to see those poles on the long side so that one person could carry it on either front and back. They wouldn't be going way out like this, but they'd be like this.
I can't see you, so I don't know what you, sorry, let me look.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was showing before, carrying it like this. It doesn't matter.
Like this, but it can't be if it's 2.5, if it's 45.
Yeah,
The
know.
length doesn't matter as much as the width, but you wouldn't want it too
Yeah.
long. It'd be heavier.
this is something we'd
I don't
have-
know. I'm just, it's like ergonomically, I don't think that that going out further is stronger than closer in.
I
So,
think
I don't
that we would have to investigate it, but at this
Yeah.
point, I don't have the information. I don't have the information. So on to verse 16. V'natata el ha'aron, and you shall place inside the ark et ha'edut, the testimony, asher eten elecha, which I will give you. He hasn't given him the 10 commandments yet, not even the first set, because Moses is up on the mountain and getting all these instructions. Here we go. V'natata el ha'aron, you shall place into the ark, kamo ba'aron. So literally it means you shall place to the ark. And he says what it means is in the ark, ba'aron. Ha'edut, the testimony. And he says that's referring to HaTorah, the Torah. Shehi le'edut, because it is a witness. It is testimony. Beini uveinehem, between me and them. Shetziviti etchem, that I have commanded you, mitzvot haktuvot ba, those commandments which are written in it.
Okay, but it says benechem to between me and you, not
Yeah. Did I say
benechem.
b'neihem?
Yeah.
Uveinechem, and between me and between you. Did I say b'neihem? Did I
Yeah.
say your
Him, and you said they.
okay? Right.
So-
And you, yeah. Okay, between me and you.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. So I just want to, it's sort of what it's saying is the mitzvot are the testimony. And it reminds me of this Bengal song from years and years ago, several decades ago, from their first album. And I got to hear that album because of my family. And in many ways, it's about frustrated love. That's what that album's about on a number of those songs there. And one of the songs that I love, sort of basically the lyrics go, if he knew what she wanted, he'd be giving it to her. But she doesn't know what she wants either. And so she can't communicate. I mean, it's like a double whammy, because he's trying to please her and express his love, and she doesn't know what it is that she wants, so she can't even begin to tell him what she wants. And so he's totally frustrated. And I think that's such a beautiful illustration of how God's love is expressed by letting us know what God wants. That part of that is as challenging as that may be. It is something that is such an incredible way of expressing love. And Rashi, in a way, is saying that here, that the fact that we have a Torah with mitzvot are an expression of this relationship that God has with us. And it itself, that is the Torah itself, is an edut. It is witness to
Oh,
this.
sorry.
Shira Beth sent a picture from Wikipedia that shows 4 men carrying the ark, and they are not in between the poles.
Yeah, they'd be out. It makes sense. So what exactly does witness mean in this case, by the way? You're talking about witness, yeah.
So what it's saying is that if people were to question the legitimacy of the Jewish people and their practices and their relationship, the fact that they have this very unique relationship with the divine, that's the proof.
Okay. So it's not only that the documentation of it, it also turns out to be the proof of it as well, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. All right.
So remember, it's also, where he got this. But as you're drawing this out, David, the way in which I came to where I am today, religiously and in terms of my belief, is that I sort of took it, that I assumed that it was, I used it sort of as a hypothesis, right? Let's just assume that what this is saying is legitimate and it is true. Let's play it out the way it says, and let's see what happens. And that's how I was able to develop my religious belief. I didn't deny it at the beginning or say it the first, right before I even started, that it was impossible or nonsense or ridiculous. I kept an open mind, and I said, this stuff, if it's true, is pretty amazing and phenomenal. And I'd rather discover, and like it's the proof of the pudding is in the eating. There are promises in previous chapters that talk about that you're going to be healthy, that God is going to, try and make sure that through doing these things, you'll live a healthier life. Well, at this point, I think it's pretty self-evident, for me anyway, because you see people doing self-destructive acts because they follow the impulses, etc. But that's why I feel it's legitimate, is because I've tried to live my life. I'm not Orthodox. I don't claim to be on that kind of level or of knowledge or practice. Nevertheless, the vector is there, and that's how you find out whether it's legitimate or it isn't.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Thank you.
You bet. Well, thank you for sort of drawing it out. I wouldn't have thought to say it if you hadn't said what you said.
Yeah, because there's a difference between codifying something and proof of something, right? So
Right.
everything is codified here, but is that really proof of it? And you're saying that they turn out to be synonymous. So,
Right.
Yeah.
At
Okay.
least that's been my experience.
Yeah.
Been my experience.
Totally get it.
Yeah. Let's go on a little bit more. This is sort of very cool here, because now we get into the asita kaporet zahav. You shall make a kaporet of gold. Now, this word kaporet, without any question, has something to do with kapara, right? With atonement. And of course, I think yesterday we were talking about, how I believe Christians, we felt that it might have been a Christian interpretation of calling it a mercy seat. But the point is, it is talking, that's not totally off, because it is talking about the ability to gain atonement. And it always, it's a belief I've had for a long, long time, that if you want to have reconciliation, you can't do reconciliation if you never talk to the person you need to reconcile with. And that the idea of being able to share a level of closeness so that you can see the body language, you can see the facial expressions, you can see all the nonverbal communication as well as the verbal communication. That having this divine presence so close to the Jewish people made the possibility of atonement there. And in fact, the tabernacle, a very important element of the tabernacle was its effectiveness in allowing the possibility of atonement and reconciliation. And it's actually, I think it's a point that we read about this. And in the middle of the whole thing, we read about this horrible, horrible, darkest moment in Jewish history, when 40 days after receiving the 10 commandments and hearing the voice of God, they actually hear the divine voice for the first 2 commandments. They go ahead and worship the golden calf. And the idea, of course, I think the suggestion is that in some ways God anticipates this incident. And it's trying to tell us that it is so possible to gain atonement if you decide you're going to try, and you're going to sincerely attempt, as bad as this is. And they pick the worst thing and the worst circumstance as the proof of that ability, that there's always hope for atonement if you're sincere about it. So I think it's intentional that the golden calf incident occurs right smack bang in the middle of all this, speaking of this lovely, lovely thing that they're doing here. Kaporet. So Rashi explains this word kaporet. Kisui al ha'aron. It is a covering on the ark. Let me see. There's some bad print there. Oh, shahaya patuach milamala, because the ark, the box, right? That's basically what the word ark means. It means a box or a container. Perhaps container is a better word, right? Open up. It was open at the top, right? It was this open box. Umanicho alav kemin daf, and they would place this cover on it as a type of board, like a board sitting on the top of the ark. And going explaining, amatayim v'chetzi orka. I don't know that we read it. We should do it, right? 2.5 cubits its length, v'ama v'chetzi rochba, rochva, and 1.5 cubits its width. So here we go. Amatayim v'chetzi orka. Ke'orko shel Aron. It matched the length of the ark, the rochba, and its width. Kerochbo shel Aron, and its width was like the width of the ark. Umunachat al ovi haktalim, and it rests on the thickness of the boards of the ark. Right, the ark itself, the main box was made out of acacia wood, and it had a thickness. Arba atam, all 4 sides of the ark cover, or all 4 walls of the ark. It would cover all 4. For afal pisha lo natan shiur le'ovya, and even though the scripture text doesn't give a measurement for its thickness of this ark cover, pirshu rabotenu, our rabbis explain shaya ovya tefach, that the thickness, all right, the depth of this cover was a finger breadth, a tefach. Onwards, just a little bit. Actually, let's stop here. I'm going to make a mark.
So did the cover actually, was it grooved out on the, was there a groove on the inside of it so that it fit between the thickness on the edge, kind of, snugly in, or did it just rest on top of it? And maybe that's a detail that,
So it would have been
No,
it would be a snug fit because, it would match exactly the dimensions of the length and the breadth of the ark, because around that, as he's going to explain to you in a second, but he has explained before, is there were actually 3 containers that were made, and the one of acacia fit in between these 2 gold frames or boxes. So, and he's going to explain how the ark cover would be seated snugly in between the sides of the outer frame of gold.
Got it.
Outer box of gold.
So we're getting there. Okay, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I
No, it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. All right.
A good book is all about the anticipation.
Isn't it ever? Okay, I'm going to stop the share. And I'm going to stop the recording. I see we have a guest.